As a family-owned five-star company here in Lancaster County, we can't be that company without five-star partners. So we've curated amazing product with amazing companies that are family-owned too, where our customer is their customer. We don't deal with big bank-owned companies where shareholder profit is their first and only priority. You, our customer, are our partner's priority, so you get to wake up happy right here in Lancaster County.
Double deals, savings events, happening now.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, but I am not alone this evening. No, for the first time in a while, doing a live episode here with not only my co-host, Justin Raffoff, but also our guest for tonight's show. Gonna be a good one. That is Mr. Paul Roberts, SB Sports, BurkeSportsReport.com. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me this evening.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's been a while.
Yeah, I just see the sign you have up here. There are 2 times of the year, football season and waiting for football season. And the wait is pretty much over.
Exactly. This is the best time of year because waiting for football season has now ended. I know the real games haven't started yet, but once heat acclimatization starts in Pennsylvania, Paul, it's football season for me. So I know next Saturday, I guess some college teams start playing real games. Not a lot of them, but some of them. But when those start Saturday, we'll already have the first Friday night of the high school football season under wraps. So we've got a lot to talk about this evening. The three of us, we're going to preview all 10 Wilson football games for the upcoming season. But before we do that, we have a scrimmage to talk about. So we will dive into that very, very quickly. Just want to first thank our sponsors here on the program for year 11 of the Bulldog Hour, season 11, our 10th anniversary. And we'll start with my dad and Mays Sandwich Shop, ordermays.com. Thank you for the support again this year. And if you tuned in at the start of the program this evening, you heard our commercial for Gardner's Mattress and More, gardenersmattressandmore.com. Check out Jeff and his crew down in Lancaster near Park City. And new to the program, like Gardner's Mattress and More this year, is S&S Mechanical. Steve Simons, ssfirstmechanical.com. Thank you so much for the support from them this year. And the first one to contact me, Eric Weiser, ericweiserhomes.com, Berkshire Hathaway Home Sale Realty. Appreciate them joining us on the program this year. And of course, as usual, Justin, we've got a couple anonymous donors every year.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, and appreciate them rejoining. I've been discussing things with both of them and want to thank them for joining us as well. So season schedule, going to talk about all 10 of these games. So don't worry, we'll get right back to that shortly. I do want to point out the broadcast for this year because I know I always post it weekly and I will do that again. But I did want to let everyone know that nearly all the games, 90%, are already confirmed to be streaming, which is fantastic for people that live out of state or out of the area, can't get to the games, or if there would be bad weather, you don't want to sit out in it. I understand. 6 Wilson home games, obviously, those are all covered by Wilson Media Productions, so you can check out the live stream through the district. I believe they put it up on their Facebook page, but definitely up on the YouTube page. And I think they transitioned away from calling it Wilson Media Productions to just calling it Wilson School District. It's the same account, it's just called something different. So Wilson School District, Wilson Media Productions, you can watch the 6 home games on there. And 3 of those 6 home games will also be covered by WEEU 8:30 a.m. The away games, I did just find out that Plymouth Whitemarsh, August 29th, does the same thing as future road opponent Cedar Crest. They have their own in-house production as well. So PWHS Sports Live on YouTube will carry the game in week 2, August 29th. And then the next road game at Cedar Crest on September 19th will be on the YouTube channel CCHS Today. Then on October 3rd at Hempfield, that'll be a flagship network game with BNB Media. That's the Brandon Faust production. He's the one that does the Reading Raptors coverage, and I was part of that broadcast team last spring with Max Gretzula and Bruce Badgley. And I will actually be on the call for that game with Flagship Network. I've already found a photographer to fill in for me.
You better be 100% objective.
Well, I was already told that this is not a Wilson broadcast. So
no wheeze.
Yeah, no, they'll have to be. My lexicon will have to either expand or shrink. I'm not sure which way we need to go, but I will do my best because technically, despite being paid by the Reading Raptors, that was a non-specific broadcast for the league in general. So, but I bleed red and white 24/7, 365. So Brandon already said this is not a Wilson broadcast. So we want to be invited back to Hempfield. So then the only one that's up in the air is unfortunately McCaskey. And that one's even crazier than usual because it's not being held at McCaskey. So I have no idea if there's going to be a broadcast for Wilson versus McCaskey at Lancaster Catholic, but that's not till October 17th. We got a lot of time between now and then. So, I'm glad that these schools are producing these games. It's nice for the people that can't make it, especially family and friends of the players out of town, be able to cover that. And yeah, it's fantastic. And these broadcasts, they all do a great job. And I just want to make sure everyone knew that 90% of the games confirmed to have coverage. So, well, we do have a game to talk about. Well, a game in quotations, exhibition, but it's better than going to practice or hitting yourselves, which I know the Bulldogs wanted to hit someone else instead of constantly fighting with each other. So they got to do that against Coatesville. Wilson's been scrimmaging Coatesville for a few years now. Coatesville came to Gursky on Saturday. It was pretty hot. So heat acclimatization hopefully worked out. It definitely felt like the Bulldogs were ready to go. So Paul, you're our guest, so I'll let you jump in there and tell us your thoughts about the Wilson-Coatesville scrimmage from yesterday morning.
I think if you're a Wilson fan, you had to leave the stadium really happy with what you saw. I mean, I don't know what you would be disappointed in. And I'm not a guy that puts a whole lot of stock in these scrimmages because, sometimes the ones are out there, then they put the twos out there. I do have a policy. Anyone who asks me for a score of a scrimmage gets a lifetime ban on all social media platforms. But having said that, I thought Wilson was clearly the better team. And I don't really think there's an argument to be made. Mason Young started it off with a 75-yard touchdown run. He hit Glover down the seam for a long touchdown pass. He hit Akins on a nice wheel route and then ran in another score. And I think going into this season, Wilson, like any high school team or college or NFL for that matter, people start with the quarterback position, right? I mean, it's the position that's under the most scrutiny. Plus, you're at a high school that's had Kerry Collins and Chad Henne. So people care about that position. And Maddox Gruber was all state a season ago. So now everyone's wondering, well, what's going to happen at that position with Gruber graduating? And Mason Young looked really good in that game. Now, I thought some of it was just complete breakdowns by Coatesville in the secondary where there were blown coverages and guys were pretty open. But you still have to put the ball on the money. And I thought, he looked good. So overall, I thought Wilson looked really, really good in that scrimmage. And, Coatesville's a team, they have some very high-end players. I'm not sure across the board. Last year, I think they're around 500. But it's a good program. Coach Ortega has been there for a while. His son is quarterback there. Wilson looked really, really good.
What did you think, Justin? You got to watch it from up in the booth. You were
Yeah.
reporting for the team.
I kind of said to you a few hours after it yesterday, I was like, what was your take? Because I like Paul mentioned, I don't want to put too much stock in anything positive or negative, honestly, that you saw yesterday, just because you said they could be still working on some things, trying to see some different guys in different looks and different spots and things like that. All of that being said, the vast majority of what I saw, I thought was positives for Wilson. One of the things I pointed out to Joe that I really thought was a key, especially early in the season, but you want to see it kind of throughout, is there were times where, Wilson would maybe didn't make a coverage, or guy didn't do this, or maybe, a guy got outside or something. And you could see the coaches like correcting. And then like the next time it was addressed, like the players did what had been corrected. And like, I can't say enough about that. Like that is huge when you see those. Again, it's a little different in a scrimmage, on the fly kind of corrections and changes. Those are big, especially early in the season when you still have the players digesting so much and trying to figure out what this is, getting some guys in spots in serious reps, maybe where they haven't seen some serious reps before. So I was really pleased with that, seeing some of the guys that we saw in maybe on one side of the ball last year, making plays on both sides of the ball in the scrimmage. That's great because you saw that they have playmaking ability. To keep those guys in positions to make plays is gonna hopefully translate to success this fall.
Yeah, for sure. I think what I said to you, Justin, was that I thought today was a good day. It could have easily been a bad day. Thankfully, there were no significant injuries that I'm aware of for Wilson. Unfortunately, I know the Coatesville running back may have hurt his knee. I haven't heard an update. I hope he's okay, because you hate to see that. Just two teams out there trying to get better, trying to, not hitting your own team for a change, see where you are for the season. And then those are the problem with the contact sport, is you have something like that happen, and it can derail your whole season. So I really hope the Coatesville running back is okay and is ready to go. From Wilson's perspective, like I said, I don't think there was anything significant there. There are a couple guys that didn't play in the game, more out of caution really than any concern going forward. And Wilson seemed to have come away relatively unscathed and ready to go, and really can focus on Cheltenham now, which we'll preview here very shortly. It's an interesting group to talk about because they have a good amount of guys back. Paul, I know you put that out on your website, I believe this week, about the Berks teams and a few notable LL teams who was coming back, and Wilson was about 5 or 6 on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, offense was 5, defense was 6, according to Coach Dom. So that's a good number,
right? It's so there's experience coming back, which I know that's one thing that you talk about all the time. There's no substitute for experience when it comes to high school athletics, especially football. And Wilson has about 50% ish on both sides of the ball. And guys that are stepping in have seen enough time that you feel comfortable with it. But football is such a quarterback-driven sport, and we haven't gotten to see Mason Young in the years leading up to this. So just like last year, no one had seen Max Gruber on a varsity field. I know he had played the position before, but he didn't have any experience on Friday nights when it really matters. And we heard that in our preseason discussions when I got to interview the players and all the coaches, including Coach Doms. They're waiting to see what happened when it was live action. And it was just an exhibition, so I don't want to get overly excited. But it's a step up from the 7-on-7. But, Paul, you and I saw the 7-on-7. Wilson looked really good at their 7-on-7.
Yeah, they did. And, Central York and some of the state rankings, people love to see them, and they comment on them. I think trying to evaluate a state as big as Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh to Philly,
tough.
It's very, very difficult. But I don't know if you guys noticed, Penn Live had Central York number 10.
Yeah, I saw that
in 6A. And again, it was the 7-on-7, but I wasn't overly impressed with them back in June when they were at Wilson, which by the way, they do a great job of bringing teams in there, high caliber football teams. I mean, it's a great morning and afternoon of football in the summertime to see really good programs, including Central York and Manheim Township is there. Steel High, a few years ago came when they had the Irby brothers. I mean, it's really good competition. Pottsville came down with Coach Brennan is there now. Owen J. Roberts was there. I mean, you could go on and on.
Well, Township and Hempfield were there. They don't.
Right.
I don't think they usually don't. You don't play teams that you're
Right.
going to see later.
North Penn
in the year,
was there
North Penn
last year.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but Brooklyn Nace is back at quarterback, and Legend Johnson is back at running back. He was just a sophomore a season ago.
Right.
So they do have some nice pieces. But, yeah, I think from what I've seen of Wilson so far this season, I'm impressed. And, I always talk about the separation is in the preparation, whether it's sports, life, whatever. The more prepared you are for anything, the better you're going to be. And then you look at the coaching staff. I mean, Coach Dom's now 50 years with the program. And then you look at the coordinators, Ernie Walber and Jeremy Palm, that's 51 years. So you're talking 101 years, just the head coach and the coordinators. Plus, there's a guy who's won Super Bowls who works with your quarterback. Like, it's really, really good coaching staff. I mean, they will never be not prepared for a game. And in a scrimmage like environment, I think Wilson is always gonna, I think, look the part there. I mean, sure, there are gonna be mistakes for every high school team, but even just the way I like to watch how teams go through warm-ups and see how like buttoned up they are, and you can tell that this program has been successful for so long. Just the way the kids approach these type of situations. Could have done without the fight that occurred for
as soon as I said it in the intro, I was like, that was probably a wrong choice of words, fighting your own player. I didn't mean it in that regard. But yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to see that.
No.
It's unnecessary. And hopefully it gets sorted out and there's no repercussions entering the regular season. I know that was, I guess, up to the game day crew that was officiating it, of whether that gets submitted and suspensions are enforced. We don't have any of that information right now. We're not really going to dwell on it. I don't have pictures or video of it. Justin told me immediately I cut the feed, so I don't have a recording.
I hit stop at the end of the play, not realizing it wasn't maybe the end of the action.
Some extracurricular activity.
Yeah, not to blow it out of proportion. It wasn't like
I mean, I've honestly seen worse. So
yeah. Although it is rare to see actual punches being thrown.
Yes.
I've never quite got the concept of punching someone wearing a helmet.
Mm.
Like UFC, I think would probably dip in popularity if the fighters were all wearing football helmets. Like, for some reason, I don't think that would be as popular.
Well, thankfully, Paul, for this show, you wouldn't have to go ask the Wilson guys because they weren't the ones throwing the punches.
Yeah.
So, let's move on away from the not so nice part of yesterday's scrimmage, and just kind of finalize a few things here with just some highlights, which come from Paul Roberts here. Was kind enough to pass on 4 of the highlights that he recorded during yesterday's scrimmage. We've got 2...
I haven't even posted these yet.
Oh, this is an exclusive.
Yes.
This is a Bulldog Hour exclusive,
including
right here.
me almost losing my life on the sideline.
Well, that's the second clip. So the first clip is the big wow that kind of Mason Young announced that I'm here to fill in for Maddox Gruber, and don't worry, we'll be just fine. So that's where this one is. So let's watch first play from scrimmage for the Wilson offense yesterday.
Not counting the penalty.
That's right.
Sorry, I'm a sucker for detail.
It seemed to me at first, I thought Mason was going to get caught, and then he just kept going, and next thing you know, he's in the end zone. Everyone was very excited about it, and looks like you were fooled at first too on that play, like everyone else was. Everyone thought the running back had it.
Right, and that's part of this offense when you have quarterbacks who can run, and Wilson's had that luxury, obviously, with Maddox Gruber, and Tommy Hunsinger was such a good athlete too that he could take off, and Mason certainly brings that part of the position to the quarterback spot.
Yeah, he's not missing any athleticism. If you thought he wasn't going to be able to contribute that the way Maddox did, that's obviously not correct. So, but it wasn't just with his feet. I think we have two rushing touchdowns from him, but he was able to connect on a few nice passes yesterday. I know he got Mike Glover into the end zone. I think that's one of the defensive breakdowns you were mentioning, that Coatesville seemed out of sorts. Glover open, and Mason Young was able to find him in the end zone. He made a nice little throw here right before his second touchdown. This one is to Corell Akings. And I know you can't see it in the video because Paul was under fire, under duress. He was being attacked by Corell Akings and the Coatesville defender coming right at him, but you got out of the way.
Yeah, that is my pickleball agility. Some may mock pickleball, but being a 3.75 to 4.0 caliber player, I was able to avoid both Corell and the linebacker that was coming at me.
That's the recruit, right?
Right, yeah. Wiggins is going to Penn State, and he's 6'3", 6'4". He's very tall, lanky. He's about 205 to 210, but he can cover a lot of ground. He's a sideline to sideline type of linebacker. And this is a good play, too, because some people may look at it at first and say, well, what was he doing that, he really missed that coverage? But it was not his fault.
It was not his guy.
So immediately after that play, he turned to one of his coaches and said, where was the corner? So even though he's trailing there was supposed to be a defensive back who was over the top down that sideline, and clearly there was no one there. So when I mentioned earlier, Coatesville had some real breakdowns in the secondary. That was a play.
Yeah, I think you can hear at the end of it, if I had the volume turned up on the clip, you can hear, I don't know if it's Wiggins saying or if it's the coach respond. I think it's the coach turning to the DB saying, what do you do on Miami, or something like that, whatever their coverage was.
Right.
Because you can tell, because watching the clip, if Wiggins is manned up with Corell, he got burned. But you can kind of tell he's sitting there like, that's not my guy, and then turns like, oh, but there's no one there. I better go get him. And I know Corell was upset. He thought he had hit the pylon and gotten in. I did have to be the bearer of bad news to Corell and show him the photo where his foot was out before the ball was extended. So I know he was disappointed. He wanted to get in the end zone, but there'll be plenty of opportunities coming up here real soon to do that. But it was a nice pass from Mason. Saw Corell open, and Akings almost made the play. But
and that's something he's great at. They threw to him a lot out of the backfield.
Oh, yeah.
Last season, it was
him and Greer.
Him and the tight ends. Usually were the main target. And heck, sometimes they had 3 tight ends on the field. A lot of times they had 3 tight ends on the field. But Corell is a very good receiver out of the backfield.
There was actually already a discussion with Justin and I before the scrimmage yesterday with the tight end coach, Patrick Zerby, talking about the depth at tight end. They don't have the 3 seniors to rely on. They all moved on. Obviously, everyone knows about Michael Glover, though. He's getting a lot of attention from college scouts. Was an all-state player last year and was still only a junior this year. But there's a couple guys behind him, one in his class, Barima, who looked really good on defense yesterday, filling in for a dinged-up Mal Gaston, but also coming out and be able to do something in 2 tight end sets. Then there's a sophomore, Braden Farrell, who Coach Zerby said to us, hey, if the 2 of you can get your blocking down because they know how to run routes, they can do that. We can go back into 3 tight end sets like they were running last year.
Well, and I remember Paul, in your video, I think from the media day with Coach Thomas, Barima was one of the guys he had mentioned with speed that caught my attention, because when you see Barima, the last thing that you're going to think of is guy with just like the speed. Now I've seen him run and he it's there, but like Barima is just a big guy. And so, and Coach Zerby was kind of talking about getting these guys in those positions, so that what can they do to get on the field in those positions and help out and all of that stuff. But, there's a lot of promising young guys there too. I say young, Glover's only a junior, but like
Barima's a junior and Farrell's a sophomore.
Right. So there's lots, but it is just different than that room was last year.
Yeah. There's still potential, a lot of potential
Oh,
in
absolutely.
the tight end room. Patrick Zerbe, obviously Penn State alum, monitoring the Penn State tight end situation over the last few years, has gotten pretty good. He's got a pretty good one at Wilson these last few years as well. So right after the highlight we showed you of Young finding Akings, a couple plays later, well, Young got to finish off that drive, and Paul got a video of Mason's scramble. It's great. He gave a great pump fake, and then he saw, you know what? I don't need to force it in there. I'm going to take it myself. And Mason got in the end zone with his legs for the second time of the day. I think this actually might have been before he hooked up with Michael Glover for a touchdown. So all around, very, very strong debut. And then there was one more clip provided to us by Paul, and another player that really, I think, stood out and made a name for himself. And, we talk about every year, Justin, Wilson has a history of finding a guy that maybe was undervalued or overlooked as a sophomore and a junior. Even if they got on the field, maybe there wasn't a lot of action coming their way. But yesterday, we got to see some nice highlights from Elijah Dean.
Yeah. Eli looked really good yesterday. Both sides of the ball.
So
and-
the highlight is of his offensive catch, but
Yes.
he made noises elsewhere as well.
Right. So like seeing Eli get on the field and make plays, he was on the field a lot, but like Paul mentioned, a lot of the targets went to Glover and maybe some of the other tight ends. Or
Zulinger was a lot.
Carell got a lot. You had Jaden Carpenter, a few made some big plays last year. I remember the one game, it was a home game where he made the catch and got into the end zone, and I
think, was that against Plymouth White Marsh?
I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know how he got in the end zone or how he made that catch, because he took the hit but got in. But seeing Jaden around, making plays yesterday again on both sides. I know he didn't see a lot of defensive reps last year, but he saw a lot of offensive reps. But seeing those guys who, and just having that experience, not being as nervous about it, everything being new. Some of the stuff they're used to, they can focus on the things that they're trying to implement now. So.
Yeah, and Eli had a pick six yesterday. Came down from his safety spot to make a nice play towards the second half of the game situation part of the scrimmage. So
Chase Herb had a interception too.
Chase Herb had a nice pick as well. I have pictures of their returns on both those interceptions. I did not get to go through my photos yet. I was throwing up on a slideshow here earlier when we were talking about the scrimmage, photos from Phil, who was there yesterday and took a lot of pictures. I didn't get to publicly post those.
It took me
yet,
way too long to figure out who else was down there taking pictures.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, wait, that's Phil.
You know what's funny? So, I mean, I've been doing this since 1999, and I remember when I first started and I would go to scrimmages and people would kind of laugh at me like, Paul, what are you doing on a Saturday going to it? Now you have media members across the state who are not only going, but posting and multiple highlights.
Yeah.
I saw one guy doing almost play-by-play
of the scrimmage,
of a scrimmage in the Harrisburg area, writing like recaps of it's crazy how big scrimmage day has become.
This is just hypothetical or just a hypothesis myself. I wonder if it's because there's only one now. There used to be two. So you had like kind of that first tune-up, then you had the one where you better be ready because the games start next week. Now it's just one opportunity because of
that
the way
feels
things
so
have shifted.
long ago, and I know it's been a few years now, but like that just feels so long ago. Like I'm so ingrained into this. Oh, it's just one scrimmage now.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, the idea of the two, man, that's way back.
Yeah, going back, but that's the way it used to be up until that week 0 shenanigans came about, and some teams were playing a game while others were having a second scrimmage.
That was rough. Where it wasn't the same for everyone.
Well, I remember it was Mifflin was Wilson's first game, but we weren't Mifflin's first game for a year or two. Right. So that wasn't going to work for too long. And then I think everyone has adopted this, where basically what had been week 0 is now just week 1, Everyone plays that way. So stop calling it week 0. That doesn't exist anymore.
The only people that still use week 0 are the same people that ask me for scrimmage scores and the same people that insist on backing into parking spots at grocery stores when virtually every spot's taken.
No, you got to go with the pull through there. You just find a spot, just pull through, you're good to go.
I think those people are all like in the same category.
So like the Venn diagram, it's just a circle.
Right.
All right. So Justin and I did quick after the scrimmage yesterday. We caught up with Jaden Carpenter and Aiden Janakovo. They missed their sit down with me. They weren't around. They weren't available the day I did it. So I wanted to grab the two of them. So there's a quick talk with them, not really focused too much on the scrimmage.
Right.
We just kind of want to ask a few questions leading into their senior season. So we're going to play that now, and then we're going to dive into our game by game preview.
All right. 2 senior Bulldogs joining us now. Didn't get to talk to them yet this summer. Wanted to catch them after the scrimmage. So, guys, how was your summer workouts this year? Getting ready to go. Scrimmage underway. Ready to rock and roll against Cheltenham. How did things feel this summer leading up to your senior season?
This summer, honestly, it felt great. I mean, we had a lot of camps. We had a lot of 3 days. The 3 days especially helped us because we were able to put in stuff we didn't do over the summer. And just like over the summer, we did plyos a lot to help with our speed and stuff. We did weightlifting. We had a lot of conditioning to keep us in shape and stuff.
And the 3 days I feel like helped me the most personally. It helped me figure out how to get my leverage right, how to figure out how to get my hips right. And I also think our training over the summer was great too, including I had individual camps too, but we had our own camps, like 3 days, 2 days. Those all helped us make us all better.
So, what does it mean to you be entering your senior year here, getting ready to play your last few games on Gursky Stadium? How are you feeling entering this last season of Wilson football?
I mean, it feels sad coming out playing with my guys for the last time, but then it also feels good because I want to just come out and just make sure we all are able to prove ourselves and stuff, and hopefully go farther into the season.
And just like he said, I'm pretty sad that it's entering my senior season, but I feel great about this personally. On my senior season, I worked really hard to get where I am. I came up from no reps on JV last year to now where I'm starting at center.
What do you guys think is your team identity entering this season? What is this 2025 team capable of doing?
Our team has a lot of speed, so we have that as our advantage. We also have a lot of strong people on our team, so that also could work.
On the offensive line, personally, our entire line is mainly built with speed, also along with strength too. But I feel like with us all working together, we can do anything. Power, inside zone, outside zone, pass pro. I feel like if we all work together, we can be great at all of them.
Who stands out from your group of seniors as the leader of your team? A couple guys that have really stepped up.
I would say Avery Monera and Chase Herb.
Okay.
I would say Avery Monera and
Okay. Well, I hope you guys have an incredible amount of success this year. Scrimmage just went really well against Coatesville. Now preparing for Cheltenham. Coach Raffoff and I wish you nothing but the best, and we look forward to talking to you after a bunch of wins on Friday nights this fall.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so sorry if that was a little choppy. I don't know. I've said it off there, but having some tech issues leading up to this show. I said to Paul yesterday, hopefully this show can go on because my 12-year-old computer has decided to stop working. So I'm on my backup computer that I spent all day yesterday and today trying to get ready for this show. It's not as good as the now deceased computer was. So hopefully that came through and this whole show is coming through okay. But yeah, it was good to hear from Jaden and Aiden leading into their senior season. Caught up with them after the scrimmage. Got to ask a couple questions that we had asked the other seniors. So appreciate them stopping by to talk with us. But All right, let's shift. We got about half an hour to talk about 10 games. So 3-minute chunks, Paul. Well, we'll some of these games I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more. But first up for the Bulldogs this Friday, August 22nd at John Gursky Stadium is going to be the Cheltenham Panthers. They are 5A Suburban 1 team. They were 3-7 last year. One of those losses being to the Bulldogs on Saturday, the first weekend of games. Wilson Cheltenham was moved to Saturday, and that game was played on August 24th. And the Bulldogs ended up holding on to win that one 28-20.
Chaotic game.
Well,
But I was saying, let's just hope. Like I'm gonna speak this into existence. Let's just get an entire normal football game in on Friday night against Cheltenham. Like,
right?
If that will be, the victories that don't show up in the record right there. If we could just play the whole game uneventful on a Friday night, well, that'll be a minor win.
Yeah, the Bulldogs lead the series 2-0. Of course, they were a replacement game 2 seasons ago for Martin Luther King during the heat cancellations for the Philly public schools. Cheltenham decided they could play. We're going to move it to Saturday. Then there was a rain delay. Then there was a rain postponement, and that got moved to Monday, which there was also a rain delay in the Monday game on September 11th. It was just wild. Wilson had to hold on for dear life to win that one after racing out. I think they were up 28-0.
Yeah.
And ended up winning that game. And then last year also kind of got out to a little bit of a lead and then had to hold on near the end. Cheltenham, very athletic, very, very quick, were able to score quickly at times. They do have a new head coach we'll talk about a little bit more at the end, but it will not be head coach Troy Gore's show anymore. His contract was not renewed by the district, and they moved on to Terrence Tolbert. So, Paul, anything about Cheltenham you wanted to say?
I just remember the game 2 years ago and coming back on that Monday. They're also, I think, at last count, were 187 penalties in that game.
Is that what it was?
I may have missed one or two.
Still counting.
that game, I mean, it was I think longer than the Big 33 game, which is saying a
marathon.
lot. Yeah. I mean, the game just went on and on. But they had some really talented players. I mean, they had kids who were definitely ability-wise that could play in college. For sure. Now, last year they really struggled, so I'm interested to see, what they bring back this season.
Week 2 for the Bulldogs is the first road game. It's a week later, Friday, August 29th, and that will be at Plymouth Whitemarsh High School at the PWHS football stadium. The Colonials are a 6A team in Suburban 1. They were 9-3 a year ago for head coach Dan Chang, who is back. They lost last season in the District 1 6A quarterfinals to CB South. And last year was the first time the Bulldogs and Colonials ever met on the football field. Wilson won 21-7 on August 30th at Gursky. And
that was a good game.
We've talked about it a few times now in the offseason, and then I mentioned it to the coaches and the players that I felt like they really got a confidence boost winning that game and the way they won that game, because it was a hard fought physical battle in the trenches. And it was 14-7 in the third quarter. And then Maddox Gruber stepped in front of a pass and returned it for a touchdown to get your final score of 21-7. But the game never really felt in doubt, but it was close enough and physical enough that the team was very spirited after winning that game. And we all know what happened next week, and we'll talk about Nazareth here shortly. But Wilson on the road at Plymouth Whitemarsh. What about the Colonials? What do you guys think about them this year?
So this will be a much, much different team. They lost 18 starters from a season ago. Now, District 1 schools, it's funny because in this area, people think Wilson's like a gigantic school. Go look at the enrollment of some of these school districts in District 1, even the ones that have been split up, like CB, Downingtown, Council Rock. I mean, North Penn is still together, but the districts down there are gigantic, which means you have a lot more kids to pull from. And for them to get to the District 1 quarterfinals last season, I mean, that is quite an accomplishment. But I'm not sure that this team is going to be on the same level as they were a year ago. I mean, that is a lot of turnover to have from one season to the next.
Well, and they were coming off a really strong season in 2023, and that's why we knew that last year was going to be a battle. And they still went 9-3, had a very, very strong year in 2024. I did think that a lot that was a very senior heavy team though last year. But they were a nice competition at Gursky a year ago, so I'm interested to see on the road how that goes and get to be able to watch one. If you can't head down there, you can watch that one on their YouTube page.
Yep.
All right, so week 3 is probably the big highlight of I want to say the non-conference schedule, but technically Governor Mifflin is also a non-league game. So that's the one that everyone focuses on. But of the first 3 games of the season, week 3 against Nazareth is a huge one just because of the limited amount of games in the series, them coming back on the schedule last year, us having to go there last year, and then, of course, their quarterback, who is fantastic, one of the top ones rated in the country, currently committed to Auburn, had a fantastic game for Nazareth area last year against the Bulldogs, threw a bunch of touchdowns, ran for a bunch of touchdowns, just was kind of a do-it-all. And, of course, he's head coach's son, so there's a lot of synergy there. Nazareth's coming to town. I don't know if they were hit as hard with graduation losses as Plymouth Whitemarsh was, but I know that they did lose a lot of talent. But Peyton Falzone still there. You're going to be in a lot of games.
Yeah, I mentioned this to you guys before the game, before the show. I left that one, obviously, disappointed with the way that one ended, but also like, wow, that kid's for real. Like he was the real deal. He's huge, he's fast, and he can throw the ball a mile. Like that, pretty good, tools to work with.
Yeah, when parents ask, like, how do you know so-and-so is a Division I player, major Division I level? I say, watch him play one time. I mean, they will stand out, and he's a great example.
Yeah.
Not only is he 6'5", but he runs, I think, a sub 11 second 100 meters. He's on the track team at Nazareth, and it's not just to like stay in shape. He's really fast. And you saw the one touchdown run he had down the right sideline a year ago. Where he's one of those players. He's like a long strider.
Yeah.
I don't think it shows up even live, and certainly not on film, how fast he is when he's running the ball because of his strides. But yeah, he's a special talent. I was surprised at the decommit from Penn State to Auburn. That kind of came up out of nowhere. But his dad, Tom, is their head coach. He's been there a dozen years. It's a good program now. Their top receiver from last year did graduate in Caleb Newsom, who is committed to Lafayette. But their running back is back in Marquez Wimberly, and he's a talented back. I didn't think they were a super physical team up front, which, this you look at Wilson this year, they're it's not a big team up front. I mean, Etchberger's, I think, listed at 225. Monera lost a lot of weight. I mean, I know that's kind of been a big topic
they
of
focus
conversation.
on speed and agility. That's the quickness aspect is what I've been told along the defensive line, especially in the rotation and at the offensive tackle spots.
Yeah, but Avery's like, I think the roster I have is 215. I was told he came in at like 205. When I saw him at Media Day, I thought, is he playing wide receiver or tight end this year? Because he had lost so much weight. But, it seems like we talk about that every year with Wilson. It's amazing because nowadays you go to high school football games, it is not unusual to see kids 280 to 300. Not at all. Even at schools that are 3A, 4A. Wilson, for whatever reason,
we're aware, Paul.
We're aware. We talk about it all the time, Paul. Thanks for pointing that out.
I'm not sure.
No. Hey,
they
Paul,
need more hoagies, Joe.
Well, we can definitely hook them up there. Paul, we can't all be Pittsburgh Central Catholic and have everyone be 6'5", 285.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. But so anyway, I think Nazareth, to me, the strength wasn't up front for them. But when you have a quarterback like that and the running back, I also covered their game against Liberty last season, and he had a really long touchdown run in that game too. So it's not just Falzone. Wimberley is tough, and they'll spread you out. We talked about quarterbacks who can run, like, obviously Gruber, now Mason Young. Peyton Falzone is certainly in that category.
Yeah. So Nazareth, this is only the third meeting between the schools. Wilson won back in 1995.
Jamie Sands.
With Boyertown head coach Jamie Sands. Last year, Nazareth beat Wilson 35-31. Nazareth was 7-4 last year. They lost in the District 11 6A quarterfinal to Emmaus, but got quarterback and running back. Very talented team. Veteran coach, as you mentioned, Falzone's been there for over 10 years. And they've been one of the better teams to come out of District 11, probably in the time that he's been there. He really elevated that program up with, you're used to hearing about Parkland. That was always the big one that stood out there. And Nazareth has definitely
they beat them a couple years ago in the playoffs.
Has put them right on the map. So that's a big one. September 5th, that is the youth night game for the Bulldogs. So that's when the pups will be there from Van Reed and Lincoln Park, cheerleaders, everything. That's always a great night, and man, what a marquee matchup early in the season for that. But we'll move on to game 4 here for the Bulldogs in 2025, and that is the Lancaster Lebanon League Section 1 opener for Wilson, and that will also be at John Gursky Stadium a week later on Friday, September 12th, as Wilson welcomes in crosstown rival the Reading Red Knights, of course, the 6A team in LL Section 1. Struggled a bit last year, went 2-8 in 2024. And when the two teams met in 2024 at Shirk Stadium, Wilson came out on top 50-6. Reading has been struggling for a while now. They haven't been able to get the momentum that they had at the turn of the millennium back in 2000. We talk about it all the time about the strength of Section 1 back then, and the Red Knights just have struggled a bit for the better part of the last 2 decades. I'm interested to see what Coach Troy can do here. I think this is his 4th year now.
Yep. Yeah, and he was obviously a linebacker.
Right. He knows all too well about those teams from 20-plus years ago.
Right. Played with James Bryant and Khalees Cook and Jason Polson and all those guys. This year could be another difficult one for Reading just because of the turnover they had. Talked about PW. Well, Reading only has 3 starters back on offense, 3 on defense. So a lot of new faces there. I did have a good interview with Coach Godinay I posted on my website about the number of players that have gone on to college just in the past 3 years to play. They have, just from last year's senior class, there are 2 at Clarion and another at Monmouth. Plus, that doesn't count Xavier Beatty, who is at Chicago State for track and field.
Oh, okay.
One of the best jumpers in the entire state. So, right there's 4 kids. Amir Berdine is still playing football at Sacred Heart, which is Division I. So the success hasn't really translated as far as wins and losses. They've only had 6 wins in the last 3 years. This year we'll see what happens. But he showed me at Media Day some pictures of freshmen. And I'm telling you guys, I could not believe these were 9th graders physically. Wellmaker is one, Brandon Jones is another. They'll be playing defensive line already this year. Wellmaker is at least 300 pounds, and he'll be a defensive tackle. They have some kids coming up. Again, I must have asked Troy like 2 or 3 times, like, wait, you're sure these are 9th graders? I couldn't believe the size of the wingspan on some of these guys. So again, this year it'll be difficult. Plus, when you play in Section 1, it's not going to be easy. But they lost 24 seniors from last year's team. So it's
that's a big hurdle to overcome.
Right. He likes their defensive line. Jameer Jacob is back, plus some of the younger guys that they had. Jason Plyler will be the quarterback, and he got some time last season, but there'll be a lot of new faces for Reading.
Reading hasn't defeated the Bulldogs since October 24th, 2003. So it's been a long time coming. I know they didn't play every year since then. Reading only got back into the Lancaster Lebanon League when the Berks teams rejoined or joined the LL. So Wilson won the game last year 50-6. All right, so let's get to the midway point. Bulldogs going back on the road on September 19th. Heading to Lebanon to take on Cedar Crest at Earl Bolts Stadium. Falcons are a 6A team, obviously in LL Section 1. They were 8-4 last year, but 2 of those 4 losses were to the Bulldogs. Wilson got the better of them both in the regular season and in the playoffs. So the regular season one came down to a fourth quarter goal line stand. Wilson held on to win that one 14-7, and then the Bulldogs hosted Cedar Crest again in what was Wilson's first game of the playoffs. Second for Cedar Crest, who beat Hempfield in the opening round. Wilson ended up beating the Falcons 28-3 on November 8th to move on to the next round where Wilson would defeat Central York. So ending a team season at any point is rough, but beating them twice in 1 year is definitely memorable. And that was Nick Lambros' first year as head coach, now in year 2.
Not the Wilson.
Not Wilson Nick Lambros. No, we always clarify that when we say that. Not the same Nick Lambros. No, but
never had a hair out of place.
Still doesn't. So Jackson Custer is gone, which is probably the biggest negative for Cedar Crest. I think they were hit pretty hard by graduation, but I know that their junior class was pretty talented, and obviously that starts with the running back Zimmerman.
Right. Isaiah Zimmerman's back, 1,500 yards a season ago, 17 touchdowns. But I think they'll probably be a little bit better on the defensive side, at least to start. They have 2 linebackers back who both had over 100 tackles a season ago. They also have Luke Oriole back in the secondary. He had 6 interceptions. I think that was the most in the league. So defensively, they should be okay. And the last 2 seasons, they've won 16 games. So it's, I'm not saying it's Brandon Kirsch and Jaron Hayes again, but they definitely have turned things around under Coach Lambros there, and to get in the playoffs and win it. They beat Hempfield in the first round, and then obviously lost to Wilson. But this is another team. I mentioned Reading lost 24 seniors. Cedar Crest lost 22 from last year's team. So we'll see if they can keep it going, but they're another team that's gonna have a lot of guys, getting first year experience on Friday night.
I did notice that the Horn brothers were back coaching now
Yeah.
at Cedar Crest. They what was it Evan and Logan?
Evan was phenomenal all around athlete, like did everything. I think he went up to New Hampshire, I want to say, but track and field. I mean, that kid, he could. It was like there are just some kids, like whatever sport they play, they're the best kid.
Yes.
That's what I remember about Evan Horn.
Yeah, Justin and I said it last year. We thought people were underrating Cedar Crest.
Yeah, we thought they were underrated. And then did they lose one of their early ones to
was it to Warwick or
they
something?
lost to Warwick, but then we heard they turned the ball over like 7 times
or
in that
something.
game.
And we're
I think
like,
the quarterback
Was that
had,
bad?
right?
Yeah,
the quarterback
I
had
hear it is.
Right, I think the quarterback had gotten hurt, and then there were maybe 5
I think they had bad
Right,
center
bad snap,
quarterback snaps, and
but they lost to Warwick, who had had a bad loss early too, and you're like, wait, what is going on? But we saw what Cedar Crest was last year, and they were closer to what Joe and I thought they were going to be than what many others thought they would be. And I kind of think that it'll be interesting. Like you said, they have a lot to replace, but they're kind of getting some momentum there, where, it'll be interesting to see.
yeah, it'll be interesting. When you have a stud running back like that, and you have
The linebackers,
a bit of a
and,
veteran defense back, you can kind of find your footing with a new quarterback. I mean, man, if they had Custer back this year, it would be an interesting group down there. And it's Cedar Crest. We talked about Reading High hasn't beaten Wilson in a long time. Cedar Crest has actually been longer. So
we beaten them the last 2 years, now not counting the playoff game, but the regular season matchups have come down to
right at
basically
the end of the
stops
game, yeah.
at the goal line.
Yeah,
Now the one was a heave to the end zone that I don't know if Eddie picked it off or
It
knocked
was
it
Eddie,
down, but
Edison
like
Case, yeah.
but like it's been right there. Yeah.
I think their question is, can they take the next step and get to the level of Wilson and Township?
Right.
I mean, people who cover the league, I think, always wonder who's going to win Section 1, Wilson or Township. And I know Hempfield did a few years ago,
2022,
right? But
that was shown to be an anomaly so far. It's been Wilson or Township basically every year since
right. Instead of the breakthrough for Hempfield, they kind of slid back the next 2 years.
Yeah, Wilson's now won 30 overall 29 in Section 1.
So Cedar Crest starts the season with 2 road games, but then has a 3-game homestand, which finishes with Wilson on September 19th before Crest heads back on the road for 2 in a row. And they do play at Township this year. That's on October 3rd when the Bulldogs will be down in Hempfield. But in between the road trip to Crest and Hempfield is a game. You might know something about it, Paul. It's against this team called the Mustangs.
Never heard of
them. Yeah, so Wilson gets to host the big-time rivalry game against Governor Mifflin on September 26th at Gursky Stadium. Mustangs are once again this year, since the second year of a 2-year cycle, up in 6A. So there's always that potential that you could meet your rival in the playoffs again, which doesn't happen very often, but is
How
on
awesome
the table.
would that be?
Is on the table.
You think a few people would show up for that game?
So I believe it's only happened twice.
Is it awesome? Potentially. Is it also way
good,
too
awful?
nerve-wracking
Yeah.
for me? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, and both teams have been through it. Just ask Wilson how they felt in 2006, and then ask Mifflin how they felt in 2012.
Right.
So, actually, both years, the team that won both matches, both regular season and playoffs. So, Mifflin went 5-6 last year. Wilson beat them on September 27th in Shillington, 43-20. Obviously, there's not a lot you have to say about this game. It is head coach Nick Morrissey's second year as the guy with Mifflin. Mifflin lost in the first round of the playoffs last year to Cumberland Valley. Mifflin last won this series in 2021. I don't know. What's there to learn about Mifflin this year? I've heard some rumors. I've heard some rumors
taken
that
his talents to Shillington.
I've heard that their offense might be a little bit different than what we're used to.
LeBron Leaf is the name to know, who's another terrific all-around athlete. I saw him this summer up at Cedar Beach in Allentown playing basketball for Governor Mifflin. They of course had a great basketball season last year too, but he's going to take over at quarterback, and he can really run the football. He had 2 long runs against Twin Valley. That was their scrimmage on Saturday. I was told that in the not the 10-on-10, the 10 plays, right, but the actual game, that Twin Valley got the better of that particular matchup, and Twin Valley's still going to be good, even though they lost a lot. In fact, that's where I'm headed week 1. They're playing Berks Catholic. Both those teams were in the district semis in their respective classifications last season. But LeBron Leaf is going to be the straw that stirs the drink for Governor Mifflin this year. Really athletic guy. They don't have a ton back. Only 3 starters back on the offensive side of the football.
Well, I think they have a lot of linemen they're replacing too.
I think they have 2 back. Worley's back for sure. Yeah. They also have a new defensive coordinator, Pat Sisk, who was at Berks Catholic most recently. He's going to be the defensive coordinator at Governor Mifflin, and Mike Vecchio is now an assistant at Wyomissing. So just some moving parts there as far as the coaching staff goes. But LeBron Leaf is, I think they're going to go how he goes this season. And he is really, really talented athlete.
Is he a senior?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, Gursky Lynn Trophy on the line in West Lawn on September 26th, the last game in September for both teams. And I said it to the players when I did the interview. There was a few years ago, Justin and I were talking to players that hadn't beaten Mifflin in their high school career, losing to Nick Singleton and the Mustangs in 2020 and 2021. And of course, that group, fall 2022, they didn't want to lose to Mifflin 3 times in a row. And they didn't. Now, flip side, I got to say to the seniors this year, you haven't lost to Mifflin yet. What do you think about that? And they said, well, let's make sure that doesn't happen. Let's win 3 in a row in the series. So that's where we're at with Wilson Mifflin, game 6. Moving on to game 7, back on the road, and it's going to be down at Georgelis Law Firm Stadium on Friday, October 3rd, against the Hempfield Black Knights. Punched up and punched through a few years ago. Coach Eager winning Section 1 outright, beating both Wilson and Township.
Great guy
to grab
too.
the crown.
Yeah.
They did fall to Township in a rematch in the playoffs that season.
And they lost to Exeter the week after the Wilson
Right.
one.
So I Coach Eager, I know, said that the Wilson and Exeter games back to back really physically took a toll on that team, and they weren't the same. They ended up winning the section because Exeter not part of Section 1, but they had beat Township and Wilson,
Yeah.
but they were gassed by the time they got to the playoffs. Had a rough time in 2023 and last year in 2024. They went 4-7. They made the playoffs last year in Section 1, got to be part of that play-in game, but they lost at Cedar Crest.
I feel like that was one of those where you were telling everybody, based on your calculations, that they were going to make the playoffs, and people are like, "No, they're out." And he's like, "I'm telling you, they're going to
they'll
make
be
it."
in. You probably should listen to me. I've
The
been
math
doing this
is the
for
math.
years. Math is math. Okay, so
Yeah, people see 4 and 6, and you just think,
oh no way, they can't make the playoffs under 500.
yeah, they did.
Irrelevant
right.
because of who they play.
Right, their non-league last year was absurd. I think.
Well, they played Dallastown, York William Penn, Governor Mifflin, and Exeter. Those are their 4 non-league games.
Right.
3 6A schools, a 5A school, and Exeter wins a bunch right now. They're on
Yeah.
Coach Bauer, and over the last 4 or 5 years has had that team rolling. And even though they're 5A, that still helps Hempfield's power
Right.
rating.
Right, and I heard yesterday that they looked really good in their scrimmage. They were up in Orwigsburg. They scrimmaged Blue Mountain, and Riley Martinez is back, 3rd year as the quarterback. Unfortunately, he got hurt late in the regular season. He did end up coming back, but 3-year starter at quarterback. They're another team. I looked at how much they lost, and I'm thinking there's no way they can be that good again this year, and I really think they will be. I picked them to win the section. Up front, I think they're going to be really physical. A couple wrestlers in the mix, and then Joel Umarino, who's up to 270 pounds at center. They're going to be tough. They really are, and I think of all the guys that they lost, including Logan Wegman, who went to Navy, Carter Redding, Genuine Stutzman. Those kids are in the PSAC. There's a bunch I'm forgetting, but Aiden Daubel is back, who's a really good basketball player. So that'll be another tough one for Hempfield.
Well, and Hempfield, I think, was also hit by graduation. A lot of losses there, but the one silver lining for them, not their quarterback, Stephen Catch, who had a very good season last year for Hempfield, even despite only going 4-7, looked great at quarterback, and he's back to lead that offense. So it'll be interesting to see what the Black Knights can do this year, a couple years removed from that section championship and trying to catch Wilson and Township again.
Over 2,000 yards passing in 11 games. That's not too shabby. But overall, 5 starters back on offense, just 4 on defense for Hempfield. The big question mark, I think, for Hempfield is who is Catch going to be throwing to, because his top 2 targets graduated.
So they also have a 3-game road trip early in the season. They're at York William Penn, at Governor Mifflin, at McCaskey before they get to host Manheim Township. So a little bit of a tough go of it there to start. They start with Dallastown, who was very good, has been very good the last few years as well. So see if Hempfield can get off to a fast start before Wilson comes to town on October 3rd. All right, so game 8. We're now at our second team with a new head coach. That would be the Penn Manor Comets. Justin, no trip to the Sugar Bowl this year. This game is at John Gursky Stadium, October 10th. 6-18 from LL League Section 1. 2-7 a year ago. They didn't even get to play 10 games because of scheduling issue. Wilson won last year's game 58-0 at Millersville. Penn Manor, after 10 years with Coach John Brubaker at the helm, has moved on to Coach Jordan Clark, and we'll talk a little bit more about him here shortly. But Paul, what about the Comets? How was graduation to them?
They're one of the teams I did not get their returning starters, but it was a struggle. 2 wins, new coach now. Now they do want to open things up. Coach Clark wants to bring in an air raid type of offense, but Wilson's secondary, I think, is going to be really good. I mean, you have Maddox played sometimes in the secondary last year, even though they don't like to use the quarterback out there on defense, but sometimes in the bigger spots they did. But with Akins, both of the Greer brothers, obviously we talked about Chase Herb at safety. I think Wilson's secondary is going to be fine, but it looks like Penn Manor is going to try and open things up this season. I don't know that they're going to be a contender though in Section 1.
Yeah, it's been a rough go of it since a name that's going to come out in the next game.
Yeah.
When Coach Todd Mealy was there, he was there for a while and had that team moving in the right direction. Don't know what it was, what he was able to do, but they were better than Township at the time of pushing Wilson for the title. They weren't able to break through. They thought they were pretty close in 2013.
Charlie Bell.
Every
Really
time
good player.
we talk about Penn Manor, Charlie Bell is the name that comes up. But 2011, you could see, okay, they're for real. 2012, whew, that was a close one. I'm glad. Dominic Negrelli.
Yeah,
pick six
that's right.
I've never
touchdown.
seen him move faster than that pick six.
And then 2013, down at halftime, came back, fought back for the victory, and then actually shut him out in the playoffs. Another one of those rare 2 wins against the same team at home in the same season. But ever since Coach Mealy left, then after the 2014 season, they haven't been able to do too much. They're like a 2 to 4 win team each year. I don't know that they've been back to the playoffs since Coach Mealy left.
I feel like one of those years, didn't they start out like 4-0 and everybody was saying, oh, maybe
I believe that might have been 2021 because I think it was when Wilson was 2-3 or 3-3.
Right.
And everyone was like, is this when Penn Manor beats Wilson?
No.
It was not. It was not when it was going to happen because Penn Manor has never beaten Wilson.
Right. 0-34 is what I have. But 10 seasons under John Brubaker, they were 27-70. So it's been a rough decade for the Comets.
Well,
you will get to stop at May's Sandwich Shop though instead because it's a home game this year.
That's right. I now lost my train of thought.
Well, it shouldn't take us 2 hours in the car to get to May's Sandwich Shop, though.
No, it should not.
Oh, that game last year, Paul.
Took you 2 hours to get to Penn Manor?
Yeah, there was an accident
Oh.
on 222.
I was going to say,
got rerouted.
We actually got off, and everyone's going 272, and I cut down through, and went down 23 through the city, because it was that bad.
We were like standstill stopped.
Talk about first world problems, Paul. We like to go to the Sugar Bowl before and after the games.
That's how we do.
All right.
That's how we do.
We didn't get to go beforehand because it took us forever to get there.
Super mad. Unfortunate. Now we don't get to go back till 2026. And the fine folks at the LL could mess that up because the section could probably change. And then we could possibly host Penn Manor 2 years in a row.
Let me say something on that too, because I think people are assuming that's a given. Let me tell you, it is not. It is not a given that it's going to 4 sections. I'll just leave it at that.
Here, as self-appointed Lancaster Lebanon League dictator, I'm going to make them do it because it makes too much sense to do it. It should have been done the first time. We should never have had 5 sections. It should have been always 4 sections. You know why? Because everyone said about scheduling difficulties. You know what's harder to do when you have 5 sections? Find non-league games, especially ones in the middle or later in the season.
Yeah.
Now, I know that won't get eliminated completely, but if you move to 4 sections and you go 9, 9, 9, 10, you have less non-league games you have to find.
And it's just because, from my perspective, as a media member, I like big non-league games. Like seeing Wilson Nazareth
That's cool.
I love that.
It's different.
You know, and we're gonna lose the Wyomissing playing Southern Columbia. You know, I like to see these type of, and there's some rivalry games now that are technically non-league games because they aren't in the same section, that you wonder what happens to them. You know, Exeter Daniel Boone, for example, is week 1. Those teams have been playing for a long, long time. Now, it hasn't been competitive recently, but that's a big rivalry in those two areas. And when you go to 4 sections and you only have 1 or 2 non-league.
2, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Wilson Central Dolphin is an example of that.
Well, that wasn't even Wilson's
right. It's gone
fault.
by the wayside because Mid-Penn went to, that not their Section 1, but Commonwealth or whatever it is. They've got 9 league games now. So they only have the 1 non-league game.
I understand from the coaching perspective and the athletic directors, they would love 4 sections because they don't have to find. I mean, look at Wyomissing playing like Haverford School and all these different programs just to find somebody to play. I'm just saying I like those big type of, just like college football. I mean, you get some of these, early season games that you're really excited for that are non-league. I think we would lose a lot of that if it went to 4 sections.
I know from a Wilson specific, Wilson lenses, it wouldn't impact Wilson as much if Mifflin moves up to Section 1 because now they become a section game, so you preserve 2 non-league. Whereas if they stay in Section 2, now they're going to be one of the non-league games, so you only really have 1 outside of the Lancaster-Lebanon League that you're left with. I don't think it would be Cheltenham. Could it be Nazareth? I don't know. Maybe. I don't think it'll be Plymouth Whitemarsh. It could.
Remember when they used to play Mannheim Central?
Yeah.
Well, they used to play Central Dauphin, Roman Catholic. I mean, those are games that just from my perspective and from a fan perspective, when you see those type of matchups, people around the state will take notice of those games. And you're going to lose some of that if you go to 4 sections.
Well, we'll see. I think they're supposed to be voting on that sometime in October. So also taking place in October is game 9 of the schedule. That is the game against McCaskey.
What a transition.
Is not
professional.
Cannot be played at is that Bernie Crum? Is that no, that's
up in Allentown.
That's where what am I thinking? Who am I thinking? What's the name?
McCaskey.
What
is it alumni?
No, there's a name associated with. I know like Tornado Alley or whatever. There's a Barney Ewell. Is that it? Barney Ewell Sports Complex. Did I pull that out?
I'll take it.
I don't.
No
Anyways,
idea,
we're not playing.
J. Bernie Crum is Lehigh Valley.
Okay, that's Lehigh Valley. Okay,
sure.
Something the B was throwing me off. So here we are. Game 9, Lancaster Catholic High School Stadium will be the host of Wilson at McCaskey. That's on October 17th. The Red Tornado also have a new coach this year. We already spoiled that because it is one Todd Mealy, who has been a teacher in the school district for a few years. He comes back to take over coaching duties for the Red Tornado, who have been struggling just like Reading High has. The Red Tornado were 2-8 in 2024. Wilson won the game last season at Gursky 56-7. McCaskey has not beaten the Bulldogs for a while either, just like a few of the other teams we've mentioned. I think you have to go back to, I believe it's 2003. Yes, October 27th, 2003. No, that's Township. I don't know. September 26, 2003 was the last time that McCaskey was able to beat Wilson. Yeah, so it's been a long time coming, but Coach Mealy has had success everywhere he's gone. We'll see what he's able to do with McCaskey.
Right. Yeah, it'll probably take some time, but it wouldn't surprise me if he turns things around there, like you said, because he's done it everywhere he's gone. So
yeah, in his time at Penn Manor, they went to district 7 times. Think about that, from 2007 to 2014, and then Lancaster Catholic 2018 and 2019. Those 2 seasons, they were 20-3 in those 2 years. So he was also a very good player. He was an all-state football player.
McDevitt?
At McDevitt, linebacker in the mid-90s when They had some phenomenal
They
teams.
won a state championship, I
Yes.
think, his junior season.
Yeah. By the way, tip of the cap, Joe, you did pull the rabbit out of your hat. Barney Ewell Sports Complex.
I knew it.
Undergoing a $10 million renovation.
So last holdout, at least in Section 1 of non-turf fields, gone. So next time we
What about
venture
the
down,
troughs?
I don't know. Are the troughs? Does it say if the troughs are going, Paul? No mention of the troughs. No. So it is. I do like. I like the visual of playing there. You know, it's an older stadium. I'm glad they're getting turf. That was the lone. It feels like every time we went to McCaskey, it was raining. So it made it even more difficult because your team has been accustomed to playing on turf literally everywhere else you've gone. Almost every game for the last 10, 12 years have been played on turf, except when going to McCaskey for Wilson in Section 1. So the lone holdout, they will be playing against McCaskey on turf this year because that is what the new Lancaster High School Stadium is, turf, and it's been rotated 90 degrees since we were last there in 2012 to play Roman Clay and the Crusaders. And Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah. And Jamie Sands was there.
And Jamie Sands, who has had a stop at Wilson before he's now moved on to Boyertown. So I keep saying, when are we getting the Wilson-Boyertown non-league matchup to start the season? I guess that's still a few years away. I don't think that's on the horizon for 2026. So I'll keep banging the drum to bring that one back. I would love to see a Pottsville renewal too. I know that's a famous one with Why Missing, but with the way power ratings go, I don't think Wilson-Pottsville is happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
Boyertown's a possibility though.
Mike Brennan back there though, great guy for people who have never met him, and really good football coach too. But it was nice. Got to chat with him back in June at the 7-on-7. That was at Wilson, and just really, really good coach. Wish him the best of luck up there. But that's another cool place to go watch a football game.
Yeah.
Football and basketball.
Yes.
Yeah, Mart's Hall.
I
Mart's
can't-
Hall and the Geigle are like 1A and 1B. It depends kind of where you live, I think, for which one you like more. But awesome venues.
All right, we've made it to the end, guys. Game 10, and of course, that has become pretty much the de facto Section 1 championship game more often than not. Probably 9 times out of 10, Wilson Township decides who wins Section 1. A lot of previews are saying that should be no different this year, and Wilson does get the Blue Streaks at home October 24th at Gursky Stadium. And Manheim Township, very good last year, 10-2 in 2024. Lost to the Bulldogs at the end of the season, 34-16.
Yeah.
Wilson came out on top. I think that surprised many people, but Wilson may have played their most complete game all season in that win against Township, and the emotions were high. You could see, Coach Doms doesn't show a lot of emotion, but him and Max Gruber embraced, which is great because I got a picture of it, but I also got a picture of photojournalist Chris Knight from Lancaster Online. I got a picture of him getting his picture that was then in the front page everywhere of Maddox and Coach Doms embracing after the victory. And it was a huge game because even though Wilson had looked good all year long and was entering the game at 8-1, just with that last minute loss to Nazareth, people still thought until you beat Township,
right? It was like
it doesn't matter,
right? We would say going into that, what was our best win going into that game?
Right.
Like what's your best win? And there's something
White Marsh probably,
right? But then you're just like, oh,
Cedar Crest.
that Township game was
that was
a very good win.
So very, very good game, very spirited game. I know the players were very excited to pull that one out and get their section championship confirmed, and then move on to districts. So October 24th at Gursky, Wilson, Manheim Township, and if the season goes right for both teams, it will be for another banner.
Yeah.
So Paul, what can you tell us about the Blue Streaks?
I was surprised when I was talking with Coach Evans at Media Day because he said they have 6 starters back on each side, and I thought they had lost a lot more than that. But they did lose high level play. They had 4 all-state players who were part of that senior class from last year. 24 seniors were on their roster last season when they won 10 games, including Declan Clancy, who I think, like, if you look up the word tough in the dictionary, like his
Yes.
picture will be there. I mean, that kid, really physical running back, all-time leading rusher at Manheim Township. Quarterbacks moved on. Owen Marks graduated, who was the offensive lineman of the year in the section. Julian LaRue, defensive lineman of the year in the section. And Donnie Rodriguez was the defensive back of the year in that section. And he ended up being in the Big 33 game. So there was a lot of talent. And that was an extremely impressive victory last season for Wilson. Just being objective, I thought going into that on paper, Township was favored in that game. And it wasn't just that Wilson won. It was 34-16. And it was a rare time where I've seen Township and Coach Evans and his staff, again, they do a great job, but they lost composure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were multiple personal fouls.
Things kept unraveling.
Right, which tells you like they knew it was a long night.
Wilson never backed down. Anytime that Township tried to claw their way back, Wilson had an answer.
Yeah, they did.
And Wilson kept their composure, and Township didn't. Wilson's done pretty well down at Township over the years. I know Wilson Township, it feels like it's been 50-50 for the better part of the last decade, but Wilson has done pretty well playing Township down at Township. So it's not at Township this year. It's down at Gursky. We'll see what Wilson can do there. Won the matchup in 2021 against Township in the deluge on senior night.
I remember that was the one in the press box, so I have to have the window open enough for the camera. The back wall was getting wet because it was just raining sideways.
Yeah, I just talked about this game because I shot the game with my camera from standing next to Justin, because I was like, I'm not getting my camera equipment destroyed. I went down to the field, did senior night. I'm like, I'm going up to the booth because I will destroy this expensive camera equipment if I stay down here. So, yeah.
Jack Kneff is new quarterback for Township, who's a really good baseball player. So
I'm gonna guess he's probably a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, they've had a real good run at quarterback.
Yeah, they just run him through, man.
And Dixon's back at wide receiver for them, so they're like
going
Wilson.
to be right there.
And like Lancaster Online said last year, that they were the new Wilson. Wilson was trying to catch them, which I know came up a few times throughout the season, leading to that Week 10 game. That Township was what Wilson had been. I think is what they sort of said. Township's got an interesting start to the season, playing Cumberland Valley at Central York, host York William Penn, host Plymouth Whitemarsh.
Wow,
it's a 4-game gauntlet to start things off.
Yeah, it is. Talk about boosting your power rankings. Their power rankings. Well, and that was a big piece for them last year.
Yep.
They
four
had
big time 6A
very
schools.
very quality opponent like strength.
And I know the Bearcats took a step back last year after having a good run for themselves in the York League. But Cumberland Valley felt like they were turning a corner. Central York, I think, outside of Harrisburg, I think the coaching staff thought Central York was the best team Wilson played last year. Especially if they thought it was their best win. Even though we just talked about how good the Township one was, I know the coaching staff really thought that Central York was the best team that they faced outside of the Cougars.
Yeah, that'll be a really good game. And Cumberland Valley's still got the Big Oak there up front. They knocked off Mifflin last year in the district playoffs. And Central York, I was just looking at their roster today from last year. They have a few more pieces back than I originally thought.
The running back's back as well.
And quarterback. Yeah, Legend Johnson is the running back and Brooklyn Nace. But they have a tight end DN back. They have one of their better linebackers who's back as well. That's a school district kind of similar to Wilson. It seems like every sport, they're really good. Their basketball program has been phenomenal the past couple seasons. Volleyball, they're always good.
Did they win states just a couple
years ago? 2 years
ago,
I think they won.
Yeah, last
Spring
year,
of 23.
Last year, I saw them lose by 50
at the
Guy to Roman Catholic in the state playoff. Yeah, I was tweeting scores. And people were responding as if like I was having typos.
correctly.
Yeah. Right. I think it ended up 98-48. I kid you
Wow.
not. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but their basketball program is really good too. So
To
yeah,
be
that
fair,
township game
Roman
was good.
Catholic, you
Yeah.
might as well be playing one of the Big Five schools down there sometimes. So
So I mentioned it as we went through game by game, but there are 3 new coaches on Wilson's schedule. Cheltenham has the first in game 1. Troy Gore has moved on, and Terrence Tolbert is replacing him. Tolbert was on the staff with Cheltenham last year, and Tolbert was previously the head coach at Abington. Coach Gore went 19-24 in 4 seasons with Cheltenham. Then much later in the season, game 8 against Penn Manor, we mentioned Coach John Brubaker's term came to an end after 10 seasons. Paul mentioned he went 27-70 from 2015 through 2024. Coach Clark was previously the head coach at Wyalusing, and actually I believe he just was on staff at Manheim Township before moving over to Penn Manor. And then lastly, we mentioned Todd Mealy replacing Ben Thompson for the McCaskey Red Tornado. Mealy had a lot of success as head coach at Penn Manor as well as at Lancaster Catholic for 2 years. Ben Thompson went 7-33 in the last 4 seasons. So
Yeah, Coach Clark was an assistant last 3 years at Manheim Township and a graduate of Towanda High School,
who I
which
believe he led to a district championship.
I broadcasted a game. Talk about like middle of nowhere. That's God's country up there. Berks Catholic was playing a state playoff game up there against a District 4 team who they absolutely destroyed, by the way. But just the drive, it was like, I mean, where are we driving to California here? Like, when are we going to get here? But that's right. I think it was a nice facility, though, as I recall, Towanda.
Interesting. Yeah. I always like hearing about those District 4 schools and driving up when we go into Knoebels, driving through Minersville and,
Batlin
Schuylkill
Miners.
County. And at Batlin Miners. Love the Wilson connection there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I announced that to the car when I was going to Knoebels.
I do every year. I do. I'm like, Minersville. Coach John Gursky was there. And I didn't realize that Coach Bernie Stoppby played for Coach Gursky
not
at
know that.
Minersville.
They
Didn't
also,
realize that.
bringing it full circle, their quarterback now is
He's a good one.
freakish athlete. Carr, he's committed.
Dante
to,
Carr, right?
Yeah, he's committed to Central Florida, but he's had some crazy dunks that I've seen. So really good for a small school to have that type of quarterback. I'm curious how far they go this year.
All right. Well, I think that does it for us. This one went long to make up for. I only gave them 45 minutes on Thursday, so I owed them some time. So here we are. Full season preview is going to take some time, though, to get through 10 games and the scrimmage. So, Paul, thank you so much for joining us, talking about Wilson football here. I'm sure we'll connect again this season. There's a lot of great games on the schedule, and Wilson's looking pretty good, and hopefully things continue that way. So
yeah, Nazareth for sure was one I circled right away, so I would definitely be there for that. And I say it every time I'm on, but the people in this area are lucky to have you guys and all that you do, all the interviews you do with the players and the coaches, the pictures that you put out, these type of podcasts. I mean, most high schools do not get this type of in-depth coverage.
Well, we wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
and Justin and I are very passionate about it, and we pretty much talk Wilson football year round. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
It doesn't matter if it's August or February. We're thinking about the past season and the upcoming one.
It's either football season or waiting for football season.
Exactly. Now, talk about coming full circle. Way to go, Justin. That's why you're here. That's why you're making the big bucks.
Oh, now your dad's gonna come after me.
He's been fired so many times
That's
in the
true.
last few weeks alone.
It's like
amazing.
George Costanza.
Yes.
Just
Just
keeps
keep-
coming
I just
back.
keep showing up.
It's like a cockroach, Just can't get rid of him. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for being here for episode 6 of the Bulldog Hour's 11th season. Justin and I will be back in 1 week to recap the first regular season game, hopefully a victory over Cheltenham for Wilson. But for Justin Rapoff, Paul Roberts, I'm Joe Mays. And remember, till next time,
Go
Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.